Hey, welcome to a video of me doing a tier list for the balance mod. And it's currently the 17th of May, Norway's Independence Day, but because of the thing that's happening all over the world with not feeling so good, and some have even calling it the Backstreet Boys reunion tour, I didn't participate in any festivities, just staying home, staying safe, all that stuff. So that's why I have these glasses, to celebrate the power of Norway, yes. So we will go into the tier list here. So in the past we did, like the previous one, we had a bit of a different ranking. So here I have what is called opener, and response, and just response. So this is kind of my tier list, because in the balance mod everything is supposed to be equally as good. Like everything is supposed to be viable, but some weapons are more general than others. So that means an opener is something that you could use regardless of you knowing what the enemy is running. And the response is the enemy is doing something specific. I am changing my playstyle. I'm using this item in this specific instance to counter or deal with whatever the opponent is doing. That's what's called a response. My response to something. And then you have opener and response. I'm not sure how many items are going to fit into this, but there will be some items that kind of fit into both categories here. So let me just fix the camera real quick. There we go. Yes. Nice. So we're just going to start off. I also have the balance mod changes for the mod, which is available on the webpage, all of the documentation. However, it may change at any point in time because we keep updating it constantly. So let's just start with A, which is the airstrike. And I'd say, as a soldier, it is an opener and a response, kind of. So it works decently for a regular rocket launcher. Like, we haven't done anything in the balance mod to mod it. We have tested something, like removing the splash penalty, as resulting in it just being insanely good. But this weapon, you can use it if you don't know what the enemies are doing. If you can get a couple of kills, you get more clips, you get more damage. But it's also a very good sentry busting tool for that. So moving on with the Alibaba's wee booties, and probably the other bootleggers as well, wherever they might be in this list. I would say that's an opener as a demo man when you're swapping out your weapon to use this, like swapping out your grenade launcher, whether you go full demo knight or full sticky launcher. Because in the balance mod, you don't take any fall damage when you have this, so it actually helps you with doing sticky jumps. You can open with this. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to know anything. It's not a response to something. Definitely not a response weapon. I could never, ever think like, oh man, if only I had equipped the booties instead of the grenade launcher, I would have been able to do this. Yes. So I would say the amputator is also an opening, or the ambassador, sorry, the amputator is here. I would say that the ambassador, opener, you don't usually shoot enemies. The enemy team's gonna have enemies. You can just open with it. It's been buffed, so it's better. Amputator, I would say, is more of a response weapon, because it's when you are in a situation where you start to see as a medic that your team isn't, you're not able to heal all of your teammates and they're being clustered together, and then later you see like, all right, well, I'll be switching to the amputator next to do this, because it's good at what it does, but like if you don't need the AoE heal that often, you're gonna be better off with other weapons. So it depends like how much splash damage the opponents are doing. So this would be a response to the enemy having like a lot of soldiers, a lot of demo man, and you maybe being a solo medic on your team, then this weapon is pretty good. Heavy Apaco fists, as well as the regular fists, if they're here somewhere. There we are. There we have. They have fists as well. Basically, they are an opener, because you don't need to know anything about the enemy. You can just start having faster switch speed, so you will be slower. You won't be able to tank, but you will be able to switch between your primary and secondary a lot quicker, making you able to throw sandwiches more often, switch to the shotgun more reliably. Stuff like that. We haven't really touched this thing, I think. The atomizer opener for scout. You use it. You can do an extra jump. You know the map you're playing on. So I would say it's an opener. You can use this on any map, however you want. No, I'd say actually, I'm changing my mind. I'm saying this is a opener and response because it's a response to a specific map. Because some maps make this weapon more viable than others. So for the sniper, we have the sniper rifle, and or the upper hand, and I would say all of the snipers rifles actually are openers, except for the huntsman. So this rifle, which it's the Machina Let's see. So this is the it doesn't say. Okay, Liberty Launcher, Splendid Screen Shotgun, Natasha Is it the Machina? I don't see it. Well, it'll probably show up later. Let's see. We have the Hitman's Heatmaker as well. You can just open with there we go. There's the Machina. I think that was all. Yes. So all of the sniper weapons, of course, have been nerfed. That the headshot damage only do 140 when you kickscope, but fully charged does the same. All of these weapons are openers. You can use them however you want. Probably like they are all they're not all equally as powerful. But yeah, so especially with the Sydney Sleeper now working the way it does, it's better at killing 300 HP classes and less. It's actually when you do a full charge, and it's also better at killing buildings. So I would put this maybe as more of a you can open with this. It's pretty close. Like it's definitely not a response. I never think like, oh man, I need to change my sniper rifle to that. So with the extinguisher, I will definitely put this as a response weapon, because as a pyro, you kind of have to see how the opponents are playing, and if you are able to get close to be able to get those hits and get that speed boost going and actually get the kills, because you don't really know this in the start. I mean, you can't always run a response weapon as, you know, an opener, but it's not going to be reliable, because if you're not going to be able to get in range, you will be switching off this weapon. So it's better to switch to this weapon later. Yes, so the Babyface's Blaster, I would say, is both an opener and a response, because you can use this to get faster when you run to mid. However, it lacks a bit of a kill power, so you might have to respond by switching to it later. I would say like you could switch to this if you notice that you can really abuse the fact that your enemies, or the speed that you will get, and constantly have that and harass the spawning lines or resupply lines for the enemies when using the Babyface's Blaster. I would say that the backscatter is in such a good spot now that you could use it as an opener for now, because basically it's, if you, as a scout, you're like, okay, I'm gonna try and get behind the enemy lines, then you can try and shoot them in the back, and if their back is faced towards you, yes, you do more damage, but if they turn around, you still do the same amount of damage as a regular scatter gun. So you just have less clip. So you could use that. You could definitely you don't need to know what the enemies are if you are focusing on getting behind the enemy. However, you might have to change off it if they just start to turn around. So the back scratcher is also an opener, because as a pyro, you can run this weapon and just use it to overheal yourself on health packs. You don't really need to respond to anything. You can just run this by yourself, because, you know, all maps that have health packs on them, you can totally utilize for your own benefit. Also helps with building the Uber if you have a medic. So it's kind of like a self-sustained thing that also helps your medic in some cases if played correctly. I would say backburner, you can definitely open this as well if you can just burn people from the back. It is nice, works really well in combination with other unlocks as well. I would say that the base jumper, despite we're trying to buff this weapon, because it's actually nerfed so much that I would never ever use it ever, because there are better alternatives, and it's basically like, in a weird, in the state it's now, it's like really bad compared to where it was OP, so we have to kind of find a middle ground where we can keep it. So we're still experimenting and seeing what we can do with this weapon, because definitely when you use this, it's mainly for airstrike sentry busting for now. Like, the reduction in speed and mobility just makes you an easy target, and especially when you play on the balance mod server where people are really good, you just fucking die. Yes, so bat for scout opener, you don't have to respond to anything. You can just pick a bat. I use it personally a lot, because sometimes I just empty my pistol, I empty my shotgun, and my target is almost dead, and it's faster to just switch and whip out and hit him for 35 than it is to reload and shoot. So nice. Battalion's backup, I would say, is an opener and a response as well, because it's just such a strong, powerful tool for the soldier. You can just go soldier and run this, and it will work just fine. And also in a sentry nest situation, it's also really great for just doing the push. So you can do it. You can do it both ways. It's really good. So also, just to clarify, that opener and opener response are like it doesn't really change how good the weapon is. It's not like A, B, or C, D. Like this is the best, this is the middle, and this is the worst. They're all equal. They just function differently. So I would say that the Bizarre Bargain is definitely a response weapon, because as a sniper, it depends on how you're feeling that day, how good you're doing the shot, if you're actually able to get kills. So if you're playing and you're using any of the other regular opener sniper rifles and you figure like, oh man, dude, I'm freaking killing it today, I'm going to switch to the Bizarre Bargain to get some, more stuff. And also, it works great if the enemies are running like mini sentries or something to get that additional charge to throw them off and get the kill. Works pretty well. Beggar's Bazooka, I would say is an opener, because you can use this to open up a lot of different attacks. You just jump in and bomb. It's very suicidal for a soldier, but you will be able to get some good value out of that. So for the Big Earner, it's not a weapon that I'm using too much as a spy, because I don't play spy that much anymore, because on the balance mode server, if you play spy and you get spotted, you die. And people are really good at spotting you. So I would say that the Big Earner is probably, I would say, an opener, because you will get stabbed and then you get speed, and then you can use that speed for something, either getting more chain stabs or just running away. So you're sacrificing some health to be able to do that, and you don't really need to know anything about the opponent or what they are doing in order to do that. Black Box, very strong opener. It's like, I'm not gonna lower my kill power and increase my self-sustain. Works pretty good. I would say Bloodsucker, definitely, with the balance mod and the buffs we've given it, it's definitely a response weapon to when you are a medic and you're dying and your team can't protect you and you're mad. Then you can switch to this weapon to kind of help your self-sustain. And also, like, if the enemy are running a lot of pyros and you're burning a lot and you don't want to use the amputator, then this thing can work really well, because now shooting your teammates will actually heal you for 1 health per needle. So you will actually be able to heal up to 40 if you're burning and there's no health back around. And you will also heal the teammates, encouraging them to stand still. Bonesaw and all the all class unlocks for the medic follows the same. So it's basically a kill tool for the medic for when you're basically getting spy harassed and you don't want to give up your crossbow or syringe gun or anything. You want to specifically target your melee slot to dealing with the spy if you're getting focused really hard, because the thing with the Bonesaw, which I don't see enough, because it's really hard to play spy on the balance mod server, because if you get spotted you fucking die, is that once you tag this spy, he's going to bleed for 10 seconds, which means he can't escape, and you will be able to track him just fine. So it's like a really strong kill tool for the medic. And also, it's not the Uber Saw and the Vita Saw, so Bonk, definitely a response weapon. I would never ever think to run this weapon if I'm a scout and I don't know what the enemies are doing. Like, this is basically getting through a tiny choke that I can't get past either, sentry nest, taking pushback, stuff like that. I would say the Bison Basher is also a response, because it's mostly used to just building Uber for the medic. Not really used as like a damage dealing tool, because it's very easy to miss and hit someone else. So it's like a response to your team having a medic and you wanting to help the medic on your team. So the bottle for the Demo Man and all the all class are completely unchanged. I would say it's an opener. You can just run bottle on Demo Man. That's what I do. Brass Beast for the heavy, I would say it's just an opener, because you can run this pretty much whenever. I never run Brass Beast as a response to something. I've never ever been like, oh man, dude, the enemies are doing something, I better use the Brass Beast to this. It's basically when I personally want to be like, I'm going to do a bit more damage and have a bit less mobility. I'm going to be a bit more tanky, even though we have removed the damage resistance you get from it. But it's basically like, you just change up your style, you're going to be able to kill a bit faster, and it's not related to what the enemies are doing at all. So the battalion's backup, I would say, is a buff banner. Sorry, battalion's backup is already an opener and a response. I would say it's more of a response to not necessarily what the enemy are doing, but what your teammate is doing. So let's say you're noticing that like your teammate are really good at just doing damage, they're not taking that much damage, then definitely you can use this instead of the battalion's backup, or you could combo it with a soldier that has the battalion's backup, so you have mini crits and damage reduction. So that way it combos really well, but to a much less self-sufficient state than the Battalion's backup, which works really great on its own. The buff banner is more careful, because whenever I'm using this, I'm like, okay, how can I combo this with my team? But when I'm using the Battalion's backup, I'm like, I can do everything myself. If you're with me or not, I don't care. Yes. So Buffalo Steak Sandwich with the buffs we're given it is definitely our response weapon. If you can see as a heavy, like, oh man, I see that the way that the enemy teams are playing, it allows me to do some cheeky run in and maybe some KGB or warrior spirit type of stuff that I can hit and connect and use that as a push. It's definitely like not like really good, because it's very specific when this weapon is good, and it's dependent on what the opponents are doing. Yes. So Bushwhacker, I would say, is a response to you running Girardi, which is an opener. So these weapons are also the let's see, where is it? The Cleaner's Carbine is there, yes. So for this, I would say, like, there's no real, like, the response to using Bushwhacker is that if you have either Girardi or the Cleaner's Carbine, which are openers, you don't really need, like, the enemies are going to be consisting of enemies you can throw pests and shoot at, so you don't really need much else than that. Candy Cane, I would say, is an opener and a response, because you can open with this not knowing what the enemies are doing, and if they don't have soldiers, it's fine. Or if you don't get hit by the soldiers or demos or rockets from sentries, it's also fine. However, in some situations you might open not Candy Cane, but you will open the game with another unlock, and you see, like, oh, actually they don't have explosives, or they don't have a lot of explosives, so I can actually go Candy Cane and get the picks that I need and combine this with something else. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. So with the Charge and Charge, I would say this is an opener, because it's really strong and you will be able to bash some dumbass dumb enough to challenge that. I would say all of the Demo Man stuff really is that, because there's never a situation where you go like, oh man, dude, fucking this situation requires a Demo Knight. So you can just, because Demo Knight in itself isn't that good, but the weapons are, you know, kind of good, and you're able to get kills and stuff when you don't want to use bombs. The Classic, I would say, also is, I'm going to put this up with this other sniper weapons. Like, this order doesn't matter. Like, none of these are better or worse than the other. Like, the placement doesn't matter. Right. So I would say this is the Cloak and Dagger. Yeah, I would say this is a response weapon. We have buffed it slightly with the cloak times and stuff, but it's basically like when you're in situations where, like, okay, I have to observe and actually wait a long time. I have to wait for my team to do something before I can make my play. Then definitely doing that. Conjurer, very strong. I would say this is primarily an opener, because you don't really go conch to respond to something that the enemies are doing. It's basically just something like you have self-sustain, and then you have the added buff when you finally get the thing. So Converse Kunai, I would say, for some spies is both an opener and a response, because you can run this permanently, be one of those weeb spies with anime girls as profile pictures, and use this and give it like a shitty name. Definitely do that, but it's like you can open with this, and also if the enemies are running like a lot of heavies, you are basically collecting a lot of health. So I would say the Cowmangler is opener and a response to some way, because it functions very specifically by giving by stunning buildings. So you can run this, but if like your teammates have, or if your medic is running crits, it might not be the best idea. But yeah, definitely the stun for the building is pretty nice. I would say Cozy Camper for Sniper is a response weapon to the times when you are standing in the back and you really don't want to flinch. It's not like that viable, but I would use it in situations where I've been playing and it's like, oh, I'm actually not using Girardi that much. It doesn't really matter. SMG as well as, you know, the Cleaner's Carbine isn't really doing all that much. So I'm just going to stay in the back and camp and like kind of heal myself and stay confident there. So I would say also the Criticola in its current state is you can definitely open with this without knowing what the enemies are running, because you just you have it ready and then you see the situation as you're in the combat and then you use it, because I don't think this is a weapon I haven't really used or looked that much into, because it's not really all that interesting for the scout. So it's not about the good or bad, it's like, what can you do with this thing? And if you know how to use it, you know that you have to wait until the situation arises and then use it in the middle of combat, because you can't kind of predict how it will work. It's kind of like a response in the field, but you have to bring it before you're in the field, so you have to open with it without really knowing. Crossbow, still in the balance mod, unchanged. It's really good, still does a great amount of heals. Also, the Lucas bar for the heavy works really great as well. With the buffs now, you can eat it faster, so it's like it makes it easy when you're going to do a quick push, and you just want to get that extra health boost. Maybe your medic isn't with you, or if the medic's with you, doesn't really matter. It works great. Darwin Danger Shield used to be a response weapon because, you know, we just like, oh, fire and stuff. But now if you just want more health as a sniper, you can definitely do that. Dead Ringer, still pretty darn good. After the buff, it's now more viable than ever. So you can open with the Dead Ringer, not really having to worry about what the enemies are doing. You just get shot, you fake your death, you run around doing that stuff. Degreaser works really well. Opener as well as the others that are openers. Because, yeah, it just enables your utility weapons like secondary and melee slots. So if you decide to go for that, you can definitely do so. But then it's like, now we have a problem with because of the logic I used with the bush. I'm actually gonna have to put it in a response, because the degreaser buffs, it's a response to you running the other, like putting more emphasis on your secondary and melee slots more than your primary. So it's not a response to what the enemies are doing, but it's a response to what you yourself are doing. Make sense? Yeah, okay, so we're gonna put in the response because it's a response to yourself. I did not think this through well enough before I started. So this one, Detonator, Great Gap Closer, has gotten a little bit of a buff, so you don't take as much self-damage. Definitely an opener, because you can use this to close gaps as a pyro and also keep people aflame further away. I would put the diamond back now that it's been nerfed. We don't really see it used that much in the balance mod, but it's because it's primarily, I would say it's a response weapon, because like you play spy first and like, okay, am I able to get the kills? And then after you get the kills, you're like, okay, I will be able to get some kills on these players and farm them for the criticals. So I would say, like, if I were to play spy optimally, I would not run this unless I was confident or had some information going in that, like, okay, I know I can get like at least a stab on these couple of players when I'm playing. If this was casual, I would just be opening with this, because like people in casual are trash and they die to spies like all the time. But in the balance mod and with the balance changes, it's like not as good because you can't snipe with it. So you have to think about it. Like, it's definitely something I will switch to if I'm doing really well as spy. Yes, Dark Hit, I would say probably the most response weapon to the soldier, depending on what the enemies are doing. Basically, sentry farming, a lot of heavies. You can use this weapon for that. If you use it if you use it as an opener, you might not be as effective. Disciplinary action, definitely a good opener, because you will have teammates, and your teammates will want to move forward as quickly as possible, and whipping them is a great way to do so. Dragon's Fury is also an opener, does a fair amount of damage now with the buffs that we've given it. With now you can air blast a bit more naturally. Works fairly well, don't really have to know anything about the opponents. Enforcer, God, I keep forgetting the stats on this thing. I would say it's a response, right? So you can shoot the sentries and do the specific thing. This thing does keep forgetting what it is. Right, let's see here. Yes, so the equalizer is basically just more, it's like the damage dealing tool of the soldier now. If you want to use a melee weapon and you want to do more damage, then this is the tool. So it depends on your playstyle. I would not say this is a response. You can open with this if your playstyle is to land on top one of the enemies and not be at full health and then just whack them. Then that really works. Escape plan, still really, really strong. You will be taking damage and you will be retreating. You don't need to assess anything about the opponents. You can definitely do so. Eureka Effect, I would say, is a response to specific maps you are playing, and also the way that you roll out as engineer, because sometimes you really want to base your plays because it's a response to if you want to base your plays around your teleporter rather than like ammo packs and other situations. So it allows you to do very interesting and creative setups wherever you feel you can do that with the Eureka effect. So the eviction notice is also an opener. I'm also going to put the GRU up here. So it's basically a little bit better than half the GRU, because now you can deploy the next weapon after holding the eviction notice faster. So it's meant for when you're traveling shorter distances and switching. So that depends on you as a heavy. Also depends on like how you play, but you can use this on any map and it will be fine. You run a bit faster than half the speed of the GRU, and you'll still have the same health drain. You can switch back faster, so it's more like a utility for you as a heavy, and you can use this without really combining it with anything specific. GRU is still pretty good. As a heavy, you will be running places, and you can just use this whenever. For the, I would say, Highlander, I would say it's a response to using the Demo Man. Actually, we're going to change it. All right, we're going to put all of this Demo Man garbage or Demo Knight garbage down here in response, because like you use these in response to you doing the Demo Knight stuff with the other things. Yes. Family Business, definitely opener. It's really good if used correctly. A lot of heavies don't know how to play shotgun because they've been using sandwich all their life, and their positioning won't change, and they will play heavy the same way they play sandwich heavy with the shotgun, and then wonder why they're not getting good value out of the shotgun. So there you go. Fan War, as a scout, I would say you can open with as well, because you can use your speed to get on flanks to get up into the enemies while you are running around, and you can hit them and they get launched in the air a little bit and they get the debuff and you can kill them. Fire Axe, if you want faster weapon switch speed and not using the degreaser, you can do so here. Did I put the degreaser down here? Yes, actually I do. So it's a response weapon, not an opener. So it's a response to yourself wanting to buff the other aspects of your weapons. Yes. Try and follow my inconsistent logic that keeps changing, because I did not sleep a lot last night. Fist of Steel, definitely an opener. You can use Fist of Steel on attack. Defense, it's really, really strong. You just put them up whenever you don't want to take damage, and there's a chance that the enemy team will do damage to you. Flamethrower, opener, don't really need to rely on anything specific. I would say that the flare gun is more of an opener and a response to something, because in certain areas as a pyro, it's better to run the shotgun than it is to run the flare gun. So you will be switching. No, actually, it's opener. Never mind, it's opener, because you don't. It's only pyros that aren't really worth it, and you know that before starting. So if the enemy team is suddenly running full pyros and nothing else, you will probably switch off. So but it's still fairly good. It's everything but pyros. It makes sense. Scout, opener, yes. Cleaver, you can throw it. It does damage if you hit people. Force of Nature, I would say it's also an opener if you want to be an annoying little shit. You can absolutely be that with this weapon. Frontier Justice, I would say, is a response to you playing around your sentry to get the most value out of that. And of course, this is all class for all the other unlocks for Pyro and Demo Soldier. No. Medic, Heavy, Soldier... Medic, Heavy, Soldier, Pyro. Yes, those four. Yes. Gas Passer is now really good. It's an opener. You just throw the gas and they go boom. Grenade Launcher is a great opener. Gunbolt's amazing opener. I would say that Gunslinger is a response to a very specific situation where you can't really maintain your buildings, can't get them up in time, or you're moving forward too much, so there's really no point. Half Slate Twitchy is probably a response, because I have to see how the opponents are playing, how they're moving, in order to determine if I will be able to whip this out, kill them before they kill me. So this is something I will be switching to later. And also it will be depending on what other unlocks I am running. So the ham also goes up here. Holiday Punch is definitely a response weapon. Absolutely. If the enemy teams are running Ubers and you want to punch them and stop them, that's when you switch to those. So you can be running them if you are absolutely certain that the enemy team will have Uber. Yes. So Home Wrecker is a building destruction tool, and is also useful for removing sappers for the for the engineers' buildings. So it's definitely a response to that, because if the enemy team doesn't have engineers and your team doesn't have engineers, there's really no real point in using this ever. However, the hot hand is the new power jack, of course, so it's probably one of the most opener thing for pyro, because as a pyro you will be running around and you will be using it as a gap closer. Huntsman is definitely a response weapon, only usable at certain maps, at certain ranges, in certain spots, mainly hallways, where you will get the most mileage out of this. And if you try to use this as a sniper rifle, you will not be able to do much, and in the balance mode you'll get fucking killed. The healing heater is a response weapon to your teammate or your team having pyros, basically. So with the buffs it has gotten in the balance mod, it works so well if the enemy are on fire. However, people on the balance mod are really good at keeping people not on fire. So we have buffed the flame ring, so it is better against spies. So if you're a heavy and you keep getting killed by spies a lot, or even demo knights, then this is a great weapon to use to kind of stop those, because the increased damage in the flame ring giving with the mini crits means that the demo knights are just going to melt close to you, and spies will die really quickly as well if they get caught in the flame ring. With the Invis Watch, we have the, it's just an opener, standard Invis Watch you can use whenever you like. It's pretty good. I would say that the Iron Bomber is also an opener, really good when you just decide, like, I don't want rollers, I want my bombs to be stationary. It's completely independent, not really reliant on anything. Same goes for the Jag, where you can open with the Jag and be like, I'm going to have less sustain, but I'm going to have my buildings up faster. You don't even need to know that the enemy team will be able to even destroy your buildings when running this weapon. I would say also this KGB is an opener as a heavy, because like it's really hit or miss. Like I can never be like, oh man, I'm gonna switch to the KGB now that I've seen the enemies are playing a certain way. It's always been like I just have it for fun, and then it's like a fun weapon. So it does what it does well when you are getting the kills, because sometimes like they're few and far between, but it's on genuine high notes when you are able to land a kill and then chain and just do that. So it's pretty good. Knife for the Spy, opener, Kritzkrieg, I would say, is actually on response to something. Normally it's just on attack, or you kind of know that the enemy team is like, well, they kind of suck at focus firing, so I'm going to Kritzkrieg this demo man and just kill everybody, because they, instead of fighting the demo, they try to run away and they die over and over and over, never learning anything, so you can do that. So also, as well, like a response, like if you're a medic and you die in a fight and you're like, oh shit, now the enemy team has uber advantage, I need something to catch up, then definitely Kritzkrieg is something that you switch to. And also if your team is running like a lot of soldier heavy demo, like very, very heavy power classes, then this is also something that you can respond to. Yes. Kukri for sniper, very basic opener. Same goes with the L'Étranger, because as a spy, I'm like, I want more cloak. I want to be able to cloak to just shoot people. I don't need to think about responding to something. I would say that the Liberty Launcher is also a bit of an opener, but right now in the balance mod, it's actually really, really good, close to as powerful as the Rocket Launcher, because you will be able to rocket jump a bit more, and you will be able to get more kills for players that are a bit further away. And it's just about your all self-positioning, because if you play with the Liberty Launcher and you play it as if you had the regular rocket launcher, which a lot of players do, then you will have less results, because people will just barely survive every time. Yes. Lock and Load, I would say, is a response weapon. Don't really see a lot of demos running this unless they're shooting a lot of sentries. Lollipop or Lollichop is the same as the Fire Axe, so it's an opener because of the or a response, sorry, because you can now switch weapons faster, and you just give power to this. Man Melter is definitely a response weapon, because it's reliant on the enemy team actually having pyros and your teammates being on fire. So if the enemy team doesn't have a pyro, this weapon is essentially useless. So yeah, Loose Cannon is definitely something you can run all the time. It's like a different kind of weapon where you just push people back. I would say actually it's opener and response. You can open with this, and you can also respond with this. If you're, let's say you're on defense and you see the enemy is pushing through, or you know they will be pushing through a certain choke, you can use it as like a makeshift air blast to keep them at bay. Bad Milk, still strong. Your teammate will be taking damage, and the enemies will be together, and you can throw the milk and shoot, and they heal and stuff like that. Man-Treads, with the added buff of the... Wait, I'm actually going to put this down here. With the added buff of the faster move speed, this works really great for pushing through sentries, but because also the 10% faster movement speed also means that you will be able to move in closer to your enemies. It also means that your rocket launcher will do slightly more damage because you will be slightly closer than you were before. So you can both open with this, and you can also respond to this when you are trying to push through a sentry nest, which is really difficult. Market Gardener works great as an opener. You just rocket jump, hit, and hit people. You don't really need to know what they're doing. Minigun, probably the best opener for Medic, it should be the opener to Medic, and then all the other Miniguns should be responses, because if you open fucking Vaccinator, I will hate you. Minigun for Heavy, pretty good opener. You can use it whenever you want. I would say that the Natasha currently is a bit of an opener and a response. You can use this as an opener, but you can also use it like, oh, actually this map has some nice slopes, or the enemy is playing a certain way that allows me to kind of like move through and do this kind of jump text and stuff like that. So it's an opener and a response as well. Yes. So Neon Annihilator, you can use this as a pyro now, because getting a kill with it will grant you crits. It will crit on Gas Passer as well, and it will remove zappers too. So opener and response because of that. So there's many factors. You can use it as an opener, but you can also use it as a response weapon to something that you or the enemy is doing. Rocket launcher is the same as the other rocket launcher, which is here somewhere. Yes, there it is. Pretty standard stuff. Don't really need to do anything with that. I would say the Overdose is a response weapon to you wanting to play a certain style. You don't really need to know what the enemies are doing, but you know that you're going to have to change your play style to be running away a lot more and sacrificing your crossbow slot to be able to just boost your survivability. That isn't the Blutsauger, so we're actually going to put it up here so they are next to each other. They're friends, yes. Pain Train, definitely a response weapon. It's like when I want to cap points as soldier or demo, I use this, because like on defense, this thing doesn't do shit. Yes, Panic Attack, since it's a multi-class weapon, it's a bit more difficult, but it's like if you run up close to people and shoot, it's pretty good. With Soldier, it's like dual wielding, same with Pyro. Prison Persuader is in a response to something you are doing with the other weapons. So that's nice. Phlogistonator, I would say, is a response weapon. You can use it as an opener, but it's like, I'm already winning. It's time to win more. So you use this weapon. Pistol for Engineer and Scout is definitely, I would say, opener and response, especially for the Engineer. Like for Scout, you can just use the pistol whenever, and it's good. But for Engineer, giving up the Wrangler spot can be a bit difficult. So it will also be like, you can use this all the time. Of course, just stock Engineer works great if you play around it properly. A lot like similar to a lot of Engineers that like are Wrangler for life, similar to like the Heavy who they only know the world of sandwich. They don't know the world of shotgun. Similar, the Engineers don't know the world of pistol. If you play like and position your buildings as if you're using the Wrangler, of course you're gonna get fucking owned if you use this wrong. But yeah, it's definitely like works great with Gunslinger. As well, but you can use it as an opener as well. More so than like just a gunslinger, which is like, okay, this is a very specific time I need to use it. This way. Palmson, I'm just gonna put it in an opener because you're gonna shoot people and they're gonna maybe take damage if they get hit by it. It's long range spam, so works pretty good just to be annoying. Power Jack, with now in the balance mod, no longer gives the speed boost, but now boosts your healing. So it's whenever you have heal sources, primarily dispensers and medics, to help you, it will help boost this this weapon. However, you can use it to get like, we can put an opener response, because it is possible to use this for the health sustain when you melee kill someone. But that's not the main purpose, but you can do that. Pretty Boy's Pocket Pistol is a great opener as well, because you can just shoot people and heal. Melee all class is probably nice. Quick Fix is going to be a response weapon, because it's very peculiar when this thing is good. Most people use it wrong and thereby fuck over their team. Also, the Quickie Bomb Launcher is an opener and a response, because you can be like, I want faster stickies, or, oh, the enemies are having a lot of sticky traps, I want to remove them with ease. And then you can just put that and respond to that. So actually, with that in mind, I'm going to put this one in opener response as well, the detonator, because you can use that to remove sticks as well. Rainblower, same as Flamethrower, so you can open with this however you like. Razorback, very specific response. You don't want to get stabbed by spies. Throwable red tape recorder in a situation where the enemies have a so well guarded sentry nest, guarded by pyros and whatnot, that you can't get close, so you can't get the sap, and it's really preventing your team from pushing. Then this weapon would be a good way to just change it and time it with your team and just throw it and sap the buildings whenever you can. Rescue Ranger responds to you wanting to combine it with the... No, it's different. It's going to be the opener for... because you're just deciding to boost your buildings and you don't necessarily need to use the Wrangler. So it's like... It's not a response to some other unlocks you're using, but it's just like you changing your style. Yes, Rescue Ranger, or Reserve Shooter, sorry, is response to other unlocks that you are using. I'm primarily thinking of soldiers because pyros don't really use this weapon anymore. I don't see why they would. This is primarily a response to you shooting people in the air and then shooting them in the air with this for additional damage. Revolver works great. Bison, you can open with Bison. I mean, it's hard to land the shots, but it's like you shoot and it's not... You're not responding to the enemy doing something specific, or you doing a specific combination of unlocks to be like, oh man, I gotta use this. Rocket Jumper, response to you just wanting to fuck around. This weapon now works as an opener because now the baseball bat does a lot more damage. Pretty strong, of course. Sandwich opener, you will get get hurt and heal yourself. Sapper, also opener because you have to like. Spies are response class, but you can open with this. Scattergun, opener, Scorch Shot, opener and response, because you can either be like, I'm going to be an annoying piece of shit that just lights people on fire from far away and pushes them and removes sticks. Skull Cutter responds to you... Actually, no. Skull Cutter is actually one of the few weapons that you can run with a non-Demonite loadout. You can run it with the Demonite loadout too, in a response to that, so I'm actually going to put it here. I really need to give this more thought. Because you can tell I'm just winging it. Scottish Resistance, also a response weapon to mainly on defense. Be like, I'm playing on defense now, I'm going to alter my style, and because I'm playing on defense, I'm going to put all of the stickies down. If you use this on offense, you're going to have a bad time. Banana also works great as an opener and a response. Let's see, where we took the locus bar. We're going to put this down here as well. Upon further thoughts of doing this video, it's because it depends on when the game has started, or you know how it's going to play with your medic. So basically, the banana is like when the medic is healing most people and you can just heal yourself, and the locus bar is that plus a little bit more. So it's similar. So it's an opener and a response to something. Yes, Shahansha is... like this weapon, I really don't know what to do with, right? So because we buffed it, so I would say it's just an opener. You can start with it, whatever. Sharpened Volcano Fragment, one of the funnest weapons for the pyro in the balance mod, because you hit people with it and it goes boom. Works pretty well. It's pretty good. Short Circuit, response weapon deluxe. If the enemy team doesn't have soldiers or demos, then this weapon doesn't do shit. Shortstop can be used as an opener because you can just decide as a scout that I'm going to be a mid-range fighter now. Works pretty well. Shotgun, opener. You don't really need anything with that. The shovel for the soldier has been changed, so now it is actually a response weapon. Because you have to combine it with something else, because it's when you... kind of feel like you need to be able to close the gaps a bit easier when you're shooting or hitting people with it. It works really well with the man treads because of the faster speed, because the new shovel gives a little bit of slow and a little bit of pushback. So it means like if people are shooting you and you're hitting people, it means you'll be able to close the gap and get the second hit in more easily. It's very minor, but it's like a play style. Yes. So, Soda Popper, opener as a scout. You can just be a high sustain scout to just do the damage that you want to do. I would say also Solemn Vow is a response weapon for the medic. I wouldn't open necessarily. Well, no, it's actually an opener and a response because you can switch out the. Let me think. I'm gonna put it next to the overdose. It serves this kind of same purpose. It's a response to you wanting to run faster and survive more so than anything. It's not like you're going in blindly. You have like an idea of why you need to do this and not use the Ubersaw, for instance. The current version of the Southern Hospitality, which I'm not too happy with because we just don't know what to do with this thing. Longer dispenser range is definitely a response to you wanting to play more defensively and just have dispensers in the open, and you're giving away some metal, so you got to be very confident that you'll have stuff up in time. Of course, your shield is that. Where did the Tide Turner go? Do you have the Tide Turner? Is it not here? Is it missing? No, there it is. Yes, all of these are responses to running Demo Knight in some capacity, changing your style, not necessarily to what the enemies are doing, but to what you are doing. Spicicle responds to not wanting to get lit on fire. Sticky Jumper, you can just jump around, fucking do whatever. Sticky Bomb Launcher is really good. Best weapon in the game. And SMG, just very reliable. It shoots, does damage. This one is the response weapon. If you're on fire, you want to take less fire damage, sure, use it. And I would say this weapon is also a response now, because you are combining this with the Vitasaw or something as well. So I'm actually going to put the Vitasaw in here as well, because this is a response to you not running the other unlocks. While the Crossbow is like, it synergizes with everything. Well, these weapons doesn't synergize with everything as well. So, or they don't synergize with absolutely everything like the Crossbow does. You kind of have to be more careful with how you set this up. Yeah, because you can't use them together with the Crossbow. That makes sense, right? Yeah, cool. All right, Thermal Thruster, you can use this. Opener, just pyro, fly, go crazy, get them. The enemy team has to have a medic for this thing to even be viable, so the third degree. Tomislav, opener, arguably the best minigun for the heavy, according to unreliable heavy mains. Tribal Man's Shiv, I would say, is a response to spies bothering you and you not wanting to use the Razorback. Ubersaw, definitely an opener. You don't need to think about anything. It's like, if I get close to enemies, I can hit them with this weapon. Caber, also opener. If I'm in melee range, I hit him, it goes boom. Vaccinator, definitely a response weapon as well to something very specific to what the enemies are doing. Where did I put the overdose or the quick fix? Yeah, it's probably here somewhere. Yeah, anyway. Yeah, there it is. There's a quick fix. I'm going to put this here. Yay. Oh, whoops. I'm going to put this on. Yes, there we go. There. So today we have... If you ever fucking open with the Vaccinator and we haven't even played around against the opponents yet, and you are the solo medic, I will be mad. Because you can open with Vaccinator if you're the second or third medic. All right? You can, but I wouldn't advise it. Uber is better. These are a response to you running the this weapon here. The Buffalo Steak works really great with that. So it's like very specific situations where you use this, where melee heavy is better than shooting heavy. Widowmaker, it's a response to you using it to get metal back, I would say. I'm not too sure about that one. Winger is definitely an opener. As a scout, you can be like, I just want to jump high. And that will be a thing. Wrangler, opener, similar to the Rescue Ranger, where you just be like, I'm gonna wrangle my sentry. You don't even have to combine it with anything. It's just your own playstyle, not a response to anything. I'm just gonna use it. It's good whenever. Rap Assassin, you can open with this. Range projectile that bleeds. Wrench is also an opening. And there we have the Eternal Reward. I would say is a response for when you've already gotten stabs or you're doing something specific to trick them. Of course, you can open with this, but it's always very risky because you don't know what to disguise as, or even if they have the class you're disguised as, or if you're going to be found out and whatnot. So yeah, there we go. I'm going to be removing myself here. So here we have the tier list for, or not the tier, well, sort of a tier list, but like a categorization very roughly by me of what I consider opener and response. So to try and clarify, opener is when you don't know anything about what the opponents are doing and you're also not basing any of the weapons to combine together in a special way. Opener and response is like you can open with it and you can respond to it in a certain way, because like the airstrike, if the enemies are running a lot of sentries, you can use these to bust. You can also use it just normally. And response is like the enemies are, or you are doing something very specific that requires you to use this weapon in a certain way. Or yeah, you want to make something happen, but you're not entirely sure or whatever. So yeah, that's going to be the video. Almost 50 minutes. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Not wasting anybody's time. So with that, we're going to be doing high GPS episodes again. The balance mod is really close to releasing right now. I've had some feedback on the release trailer, and I've been told it looks really good. So I'll be polishing that a little bit more. We're also finishing up the website, and then we have to sort the EU server thing, because the server what you're all playing on is here. It's like this machine that has some blueberry stuff left on. Like this is where we play. You know, this machine like down here, this thing. So I'm trying to figure out how we can host it. So what I've been thinking is that either I will have to ask a couple of people if we can piggyback off of them, like we are doing with the US servers for the EU, because I don't. Like if the balance mod becomes really popular, I don't want my private internet to be like DDoSed or anything like that. Or we'll have to look into getting a host for our own servers, and if that's the case, I'll have to spend the YouTube money and the membership money and to really get the Patreon going again. But then we also have, a partnership with creators.tf, so I'll have to check with those guys and see what we will do in the future, because I do think there's an interest for this, and there's definitely going to be a lot more interest once the mod releases fully, with the video and the website going live. Of course, you guys who are in the community, it's been a soft launch. You've been in this for a while, so nothing's new for you. But when we release it, it's going to be a whole new PR thing where a lot of different people that have never heard of it will suddenly be introduced to it and maybe have an interest when they see all the new cool stuff you can do in the mod. So yeah, thank you guys for watching and sticking through. Please point out all the contradictions in logic in the comments, because I want this video to be trending. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna get something to drink because I'm really hoarse, been talking for an hour. So I will see you guys later in the Balance Mod server. Try to kill me, scrubs.